All right, so we're here today with Joe Friedman. Joe, good to see you. Really quickly, before we get started, I think it's important to explain what we're doing here. We started doing this initiative about 2 years ago. We call it the KLNB Minute. And the primary purpose initially was to make sure that KLNB is a growing company with 5 offices and over 140 people and 100 different real estate experts spread out amongst those 5 offices. And we thought this would be a good way to get everybody to know one another throughout those various offices. So we've created this little platform to learn more about you in hopes that those at KLNB will take a chance to listen in and learn more about you and can figure out different synergies of working together. And then through that, if others outside of the organization take the time to listen in, it's a good opportunity for them to learn about you as well. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with Joe. Joe, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
So Joe is a principal of KLNB's capital markets team based here in the Washington, D.C. office where we're sitting now. With over 21 years of experience in investment sales brokerage, Joe has completed more than 135 transactions totaling over $1.3 billion across the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore region. His expertise spans industrial, flex, suburban office, medical office, and neighborhood retail assets. And he's known for representing a wide range of clients from high net worth investors and family offices to private equity groups, institutional funds, and REITs. In 2022, Joe played an integral role during KLNB's acquisition of Edge Commercial Real Estate, where he was previously a top producer. His leadership and deep client relationships helped ensure a smooth integration of teams and relationships into KLNB's capital markets platform, strengthening KLNB's presence and reach across the DMV. Prior to that, Joe worked for Transwestern, as well as the McShay Company, earning multiple top producer recognitions and building a foundation for his reputation as a trusted investment sales broker. So, enough reading. Joe, I got to know Joe during that Edge acquisition. I remember our first meeting. It was in Chevy Chase, sitting outside of a restaurant or a coffee shop there.
Joe
Do you
and the
remember?
Juice, yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Naturally, Joe and the Juice.
Exactly. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you ever since. I have learned a ton about not just what you do, call it the office and industrial investment sales world, but also how you do it and how much attention to detail goes into the product that you put out there in the world, and how much time and effort goes into your team as much as it does your real estate experience. That team approach is something that we applaud and encourage around here at KLNB, but it doesn't come as naturally to some folks, nor do they take enough time and attention to it like you do. So I really have learned a lot and appreciate so much about that side of your business plan or the way you approach your business. So with that, why don't you just a minute or two and tell me about your team?
Sure, yeah. No, my current team is a team of 3. Obviously, I lead the team, but I have a what I call my lieutenant, Josh Norwitz, who I mentored and trained. He started as an intern for me out of college and then graduated and started with me right out of school. So he's been working with me for almost 5 years now, and he's finally getting to that point where he's starting to really generate his own book. So it's nice to see. And then Liam Leonard, we hired a year ago out of college. He's fairly new to the industry, but he's like I like to say he's my AAA prospect that I'm training, hopefully to get into the major leagues at some point.
And how about the other components of what you guys do day to day, whether it be marketing, research, due diligence process? How do you take those tools out of the tool bench at KLNB or outside of KLNB?
We plan our week. We meet every Monday. We have our team meeting. We review the pipeline, existing business that we're currently chasing, and then business that's a little further down the road. So we're constantly staying on top of the pipeline and making sure we're not, deals aren't slipping through the cracks. And then we kind of plan our week based on what the priorities are for the current listings and business that we're pitching, in that week or in the coming week. We also review every property that's sold the week prior. We review. That's one of Liam's main focuses is tracking all the sales, so that for office industrial that we stay on top of every single sale, who's buying it, who sold it, what the price was. If there's a cap rate, we get the cap rate, and that allows us to just stay really up to speed on what's trading and at what prices.
Seems like all the interactions that we have when we're in the hallways talking about the various deals that you're working on, so many of them seem to come from deep-rooted, long-standing relationships that you have with some of the major owners and investors in our market. Um, how much of your business traditionally is by that sort of word of mouth or repeat business versus new business?
If I were to put a percentage on it, I'd say 80% is existing clients or referrals, which is a very good place to be in my career and for anyone's career. It just makes life a little easier when you're not constantly having to chase, business and find your next opportunity. And then the other 20% are new clients that are generated from, just being in the business day to day and just kind of identifying opportunities as I see them, and consistently being out there, going to events, being part of networking groups, being really focused and prioritizing marketing and PR, so that people, every time I do a deal or launch a deal, people see my name. And over the years, that just, you create a awareness and a brand for what I do, and that's what I think has led to that 80%, number.
Yeah, I think you do that phenomenally well. Is that awareness and brand such a intangible thing sometimes? You seem to spend so much, pay so much attention to, I'll use your words, awareness and brand, and it shows, and it makes us look
Some
good out
people
there.
might say I'm obsessed.
Yeah, yeah. No, you have to be. Anybody that has a really good brand is a little obsessive, probably, but it shows, and I applaud that. But like, was there a tipping point in your career? It's such a grind in this career. Getting started in this business is so hard. You talked about Liam. You talked about Josh. They're growing up in the business. Can you think back to a time there was like a tipping point in your career where you're like, all right, I kind of got this. I'm out from underneath the wings of somebody else?
100% yes. There was, I'd say there was two moments as far as my commitment to the career of being a broker. I was working for my mentor, Andy Stape, for probably 3-4 years out of college. And I was still salaried, still learning, and was not sure if a commission lifestyle was something that I could do. And I actually was planning to go get my MBA at the University of Indiana in consumer product brand management and marketing. But right before I sent in the application, I actually closed on the first sale that I had originated myself. And when I got that commission check, this is exactly what happened. Right then and there, I was hooked and never sent in the application to business school. And that was that moment that I committed to it. As far as the point of like when I really got it and I could do it myself, that came several years later, probably 6 years later, where I developed the confidence that not only could I originate, but I could run a deal, run a process, negotiate it, and do it all myself. So I would say that process took 10 years of training and experience.
What advice do you give to those guys or gals that are in that same position that you just talked about you were in?
Well, the first thing I would say, we live in a immediate, gratification, instant gratification world. Having patience to learn, do the things that you need to do to develop a foundation in the business, I think can be really hard for young people. And to be able to say, hey, this is going to take me 10 years before I am able to do it myself. I think if you told a 22-year-old kid that, they wouldn't do it. So I think having the patience to be part of a team, do whatever's asked of you for however long it takes until it clicks for you. So it might click for you in 4 years, it might take 7, it might take 10, but you have to be willing to be patient until that time comes. And then the second thing I always sort of view, there's a big difference between a professional and a salesperson. A professional, in my mind, is viewed as an expert in what they do. They're always on time. They're super responsive to their clients. They always follow up. They always follow through on everything they say they're going to do for their clients. And then lastly, they can confidently offer advice and guidance to their clients when asked. And so if your client says, hey, what do you think? To be able to confidently give them advice and have them take that advice when, big dollars are at stake. I think that's the difference between a professional and a salesperson. A salesperson makes cold calls and, hopefully gets lucky every once in a while, but a professional, develops a career.
That's great, Joe. Thank you. What are some of the trends you're watching closely in the next year, or I don't know, pick a longer horizon if you want, for your investors in the DMV area?
I think the first trend, the office building business has gone through such turmoil and trauma since COVID over the last 5 years. And really up until maybe the last 6 months has just been completely on ice and just in total distress. But I think that's starting to turn. You're starting to see more positive headlines about office leasing and office absorption. And there's millions of feet of office that's being demolished and taken out of inventory, either turned into townhomes, multifamily, self-storage, data centers, whatever. So that supply and demand equilibrium is going to start to set in over the next couple years and make the office building business much more attractive from an investor standpoint. So I think I'm already starting to get more calls from office clients looking to exit office and me being able to actually say, yes, I can actually sell that.
And are your buyers looking at it to add value as office, or is it most of the buyers looking at conversions?
I'd say that one of the hottest trends is still remaining off. They call it office to anything, or so most investors right now are still looking at office as what can they convert it to, but the stabilized office or taking an as-is office building and going from 70% to 85 or 90% occupancy, I think there's just starting now to be a little more interest in that. It's still pretty weak, but lenders and banks are starting to be more positive about lending on existing office, whereas up until this year, they were not lending at all. So with debt and equity starting to inch back into office, there'll be more interest in just keeping it for what it is, especially buildings that obviously have the amenity base and the walkability that people really want in today's world.
Seems like I think it's always interesting, not only like how stuff is transacting, or if it's transacting, but the makeup of the people that are transacting. And it feels like within the office space, some of the larger, more sophisticated, or call it even institutional people are showing back up in that space and transacting. Is that accurate?
I don't know that institutions are in it yet. High net worth family office money is definitely in it. Those investors tend to see cycles and play a contrarian view versus institutions.
Yeah, real estate sophisticated people are showing back up.
Yeah, these are family offices, high net worth individuals that can exercise tremendous patience and buy an office building and say, I'm going to own this for 10 years and buy it at an all-time low price. That's easier for a private investor to do than an institution that tends to want to be in and out of an asset in a set amount of time, typically 5 years.
All right, let's transition a little bit to your time here at KLNB. It's been about 3 years since the Edge transaction with KLNB. What's sort of one thing that you're most proud of since joining KLNB?
Yeah, I think I would say co-leading, and I say co-leading because I've worked with Chris Burnham and Vito Lupo in particular on creating the capital markets platform, which prior to me coming over, I think it's fair to say didn't exist. It was sort of loosely, you had investment sales teams, but it wasn't a cohesive platform. And so after now 3 years, we finally got our own P&L this year. So that was exciting. Also puts more pressure on and a spotlight on it from a profitability perspective. But I think the last 6 months, my team, the retail team, multifamily have all started to generate and close more business. So I think seeing the profitability of this platform into next year and the years forward will be exciting to see.
Where do you see the capital markets platform going in the next few years?
Well, I think product type, office, industrial, retail, multifamily, we're all still in a building phase of developing our branding and our reputation of what we're really good at and kind of what product type we are the go-to for in this market, what price range. So over the next few years, I think our brand awareness and our market share in our specific niches will evolve. And I think our reputation and the amount of volume of business that we're doing is going to grow because of sort of success building on success. So, and also the teams are hiring young people. We're figuring out what resources we need to get stronger and to compete with the other firms. So I think we just are continuing to strengthen as a platform.
What do you think clients that maybe don't know you or our capital markets platform well enough, what should they know? What do you think separates us? What's our value? I would say as a discipline.
The capital markets platform
Yeah.
specifically. Well, I mean, we cover all asset types that are in the market, with the exception of maybe hotels and senior living. But we cover office, industrial, flex with my platform. We cover all types of retail, shopping centers, net lease, neighborhood retail. And then on the multifamily side, obviously existing multifamily, and then our land development team covering the ground up development. So we cover it all. So that allows us to bring in the right people on a pitch. If a deal has maybe a retail component and an office component, or a multifamily component and a retail component, or it's an office building. I just recently brought in our land development team to meet with a client that owns a big building in the heart of downtown Silver Spring that has, its days as an office building are coming to an end. So our land development team is going to value it from a development, either affordable housing or senior living. So we have the capability to look at an asset, in a number of different ways.
It's easy for me to say this as the president of KLNB, but I feel like we not only have the talent to bring in the appropriate people based on the needs of the transaction, but we also have the culture that encourages that, or it happens more naturally here than it might at other shops that are of a size like ours, where they also have the ability, but maybe not the culture. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So I've been at a number of different companies over my 20+ year career. I've been at big national firms and small boutique firms. So I have a good perspective on this. And I think what I can say after 3 years is I tell people it's the most well-run company that I've been a part of in my career. And the partners that obviously are owners in the firm lean in and deeply care about the growth and the success of the company. So I think that makes a big difference with the culture, as far as having 50 some partners that deeply care about the future of the company and volunteer their time in, whether it's a committee or leadership groups or whatever, to make KLNB stronger. So I think that's a differentiation of the firm for sure.
What's one transaction that really stands out as particularly memorable?
Yeah, so this answer, I actually don't have one, but it's a type of transaction that I find the most rewarding. I often get hired by families who have had real estate in their family for a generation, multiple generations, and for one reason or another, whether it's the patriarch of the family passing, or just all the siblings or grandkids of a original owner, getting old and wanting to retire, I get hired to sell that real estate and monetize it. So, these are often what I view as lottery tickets for these families. And so when I get hired to sell these and see that process through till closing, and then they get that wire, at that end of that process, and it's more zeros than, they've probably seen in their life, that is a rewarding transaction memory for me, which I've done multiple times.
What's maybe something about you professionally that, or your journey professionally, that people might not know?
Yeah, so as I talked about earlier, I almost was an MBA and did consumer product brand management instead of being a broker. Obviously, that didn't happen. Also, the Great Recession, 2009 to 2010, almost broke me. It was an extremely tough 2 years to be, I think, at that point in my early 30s, and coming off of, the highs of 2006 and 2007, and thinking that the business was easy. So that was a rude awakening, and to survive that took, a lot to hang in there. And I actually, one of the things I did was get my master's commercial real estate finance, because I had so much time during those 2 years when literally there was no lending and no equity investing, and there was nothing happening for 2 years. So just surviving that period, was something I look back at as a pretty, pivotal moment in my career.
Tell me a little bit about your family. I know you're a devoted husband and father, but tell me a little bit more about your personal side.
Sure. So yeah, after living in the city for 20 years, my wife and daughter, we moved to Potomac a year ago. And so my wife, Stacy, is from California. She grew up in suburban LA and in the Valley, so she's a Valley girl. And my daughter, Natalie, is 6. She's currently in first grade at Seven Locks Elementary.
Does Natalie have any comprehension yet to what it is that Daddy does for a living?
No, I don't. She just knows that I go to work, and that's about it. Sometimes bring her really fun gifts when I go on, business trips, but not no comprehension yet. But I hope to bring her to work someday.
Well, as a father of a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, so I'm about 10 plus years ahead of you, I will tell you that she will likely grow comprehension into what you do, but not necessarily appreciation for what you do. Try and tell my kids all the great impacts that we're having on the local landscape of the region, and they don't seem to care too much yet.
Right.
So there's more time there, hopefully, for both of us. Great to hear about Stacy and Natalie. Tell me something you've done with the family in the recent past. I don't know, vacation or something fun that the family did.
Sure, yeah. So this summer we had a fabulous trip to Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. My daughter, I think it was the first time that we've taken her international, so that was fun, having her pull out the passport, and just stayed at a fabulous Rosewood hotel right on the ocean. Beautiful pools. My daughter had an awesome time in the pool. I got some golf in, and then some friends joined us actually from LA, and just had an awesome trip. And then I guess the other thing I was thinking about is we just had our first suburban Halloween experience, because previously we'd been living in a townhome, with where we didn't have that kind of nostalgic Halloween event. So we just had that a month ago, and was really cool to walk through our neighborhood with our daughter and have her walk around with her little friends to the doors, and walk with the parents, and just experience that whole thing. It was very nostalgic for me personally because I had that growing up, so it was cool to watch.
You live in a great neighborhood for that.
Yeah.
Great. All right, a couple quick questions for you. A little speed round. Morning coffee or afternoon energy drink?
Definitely morning coffee. That is like
Do you drink those energy drinks?
sometimes if for whatever reason I've not slept well the night before, but really need to like get through the afternoon. But rarely, coffee is literally the first thing that I do in the morning for
Yeah.
sure.
How many cups a day do you have?
1 to 2.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you. One in the morning, and then I might sneak one in later.
Yeah.
Where did you live in DC? Did you say before?
We lived in Wesley Heights.
Wesley Heights.
Yeah.
What's your favorite neighborhood in DC? If it's not Wesley Heights, or is it Wesley Heights?
I'd say my favorite neighborhood to walk around would be Georgetown. I think Georgetown in the last several years has really had a renaissance as far as it being a fun place to visit. Obviously, the parking is terrible, but if you can work around that, I think Georgetown is my favorite neighborhood currently.
Yeah, I think you answered this next one. If you weren't in real estate, what do you think you'd be doing?
So I think my answer to that would be definitely a business owner. It would be something entrepreneurial, something that I could scale and grow, and build a team of smart people. I can't say that I know the exact business, but I would definitely be a business owner for sure.
Yeah, you've clearly got a knack not only for the entrepreneurial side, but the team building side, and sort of that like grit and stick to itiveness that it takes to do just that. So I think you would have been great at it. Favorite sports team?
I'd say it's a three-way tie between the Orioles, the Commanders, and the Wolverines for sure.
Michigan.
Yeah.
We both like the Orioles a lot and grew up with the Orioles, even though we grew up in the DC area, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Cal Ripken, Joe Gibbs era, so those were my favorite sports figures growing up.
Sure.
And then obviously went to University of Michigan, so I have a love for the blue.
Yeah. All right, we're sitting here in the DC office. What's your favorite go-to lunch spot around here?
So I think my answer to that is lately the Greek Deli has a tuna hero sandwich that is super good.
It's the one on 19th Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super fresh, super good. Sometimes tuna, at restaurants is a little overdone, but that's currently my favorite go-to.
Favorite thing to do outside of work?
I would say personally, it would be definitely playing golf whenever I get the time to do that for sure. With my family, I think it's traveling with them is always fun. Just to take my daughter to places she's never been, and have that downtime to focus on my family without taking phone calls and checking email every 2 minutes.
Well, with a 6-year-old, it sounds like you, Natalie, and Stacy have a lot more years of doing just that in front of you. So I wish you well in all those adventures around the world with your family. It's been great. Like I said at the onset of our conversation, it's been amazing to get to know you over the past number of years, and look forward to many, many more years to come, and watching this enterprise of KLNB Capital Markets, as well as your team, grow and refine itself over the years.
Thank you. I look forward to many more years of success. Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thank you.